Subscribe to Film Companion for your film fix. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.
Very seldom do you get to see the hard work that people in films put in all round, and not just the actors. It's a very difficult job. It's a very competitive job. It's a job where you need to be switched on 24/7. It's very demanding, and this industry demands everything from you. Whatever my family is today is because of the graces of the audience. And in that sense, we're all public servants. We work for our audience because they're the ones who spend their hard earned money to watch our films. So they decide, Anu, who gets to work and who doesn't. And they're the only people that matter because they decide when they go and buy a ticket. And if they don't buy your ticket, you don't get your next job.
Abhishek, first of all, congratulations on 20 years in the movies.
Thank you, Anu. Thank you very much.
I still have such clear memories of the premiere of Refugee in Liberty. I remember standing in that lobby and you and Kareena walked in and it was just so dazzling. I can't believe it's been 20 years already.
Yeah, it's shocking to me as well. I was speaking to JP Saab last night and we were just reminiscing about how it just feels like yesterday. And I remember, I actually remember walking into the premiere at Liberty. And I remember that once you entered Liberty Cinema, on the right-hand side there, the stairs to go up to the balcony. And as you know, in premieres, everybody, the cast and crew sits in the stalls. So I remember crossing the lobby with Bebo and us just being, I think, a bit numb. Bebo has always been this supremely confident actor. She knows what she wants, she goes for it. And I have huge admiration for that quality she's had since she was a 17, 18-year-old. And but I just remember at that point of time, we were a bit numb because it was like, oh, pinch us, is this really happening? Yeah, it feels like yesterday, Anu. I can't believe it's been 20 years. We're very lucky. I posted on my Instagram that although it feels just like yesterday, it's so difficult to believe that it's actually been 20 years. And I've always maintained, Anu, that for any actor to be lucky enough and blessed enough to be part of just one film is a dream come true. To be around for 20 years, to be able to make innumerable amount of films, you have to count yourself very lucky and very blessed that the audience found you worthy enough to keep watching you. And also, I don't think we do this enough, Anu, but on some level, I think, we actors also tend to give ourselves a very rough time. Once in a while, very seldom, but once in a while, it's good to give yourself a pat on the back and say, well done, kid. You made it so far. You have a long way to go, but so far, so good. Don't complain. Be happy that you've been given this opportunity and don't take it for granted.
Yeah. And it's almost perfect that in your 20th year, you're sort of moving into a new format with Breathe Into the Shadows on a streaming service on Amazon. It's a very interesting series built around the idea of how far a parent will go to protect his or her child. And of course, you're a parent yourself, but what about this story spoke to you?
Well, firstly, it's all by design, Anu. 20 years, next milestone.
Right.
No, I'm kidding. I think, as most actors will tell you, we're very similar to, slip fielders. You have to just be ready. You never know when something's going to come shooting at you. Just to try and grab onto it. That's pretty much how it all works out. Like I said, you get lucky and things fall in place. I think what's wonderful about Breathe Into the Shadows is, first and foremost, that it's on Amazon Prime Video. I think what these streaming platforms are providing you is, first of all, an emergence of huge talent, which conventionally might not have got the opportunity to make a film. So by virtue of another platform being available to creative talent, you have one more avenue through which you can showcase your talent. So that means the demand and the supply has both increased. Hence, you'll get a lot more talent coming through. And also, what's really nice about this medium, Anu, is your brand doesn't matter.
Mm.
What I mean by that is, here I am, 20 years into my journey into cinema. I've made 60 odd films. I'm an actor. I'm a
IMDb says 66.
Pardon me.
IMDb says 66.
Wow, 66. Okay, 66 films later. I'm an actor. I'm a producer. I'm a singer. I'm a voiceover artist. And none of that means anything when you're doing a web show, because they couldn't care less. And you think about it, that when we first started shooting for Breathe, which was in 2018, 2 years ago, I was thinking to myself, and the two most popular shows at that point of time were shows which had completely new faces, and these are world-renowned shows, and those actors had probably not done a professional gig before that, and today are huge stars. So there's it really doesn't matter where you're coming from. I can't say I'm this big film star and I'm coming onto onto a streaming platform. They couldn't care less. It's how good are you doing what you're doing, and how good is your show. So I had these things in mind, and when Vikram, the producer, and Mayank met me, um, incidentally, I just returned back from Amritsar from shooting Manmarzia, and literally the day after I came back, they came and met me. I mean, the discussions had happened over the phone, and the first time they met me physically was then. And the minute they took me through the plot line, the story arc, I just instinctively knew that I had to do it, and it had to be on Amazon Prime Video, because only then will you be able to afford to really get under the skin of this character. I was very clear that there has to be a very clear demarcation between what I want to do on cinema and what I want to do on a streaming platform. I
What is
feel,
that?
and
What
this
is
is
the
this
demarcation?
this is my personal opinion. The content has to be vastly different. I lean towards more um, things that maybe you would not traditionally be able to get away with in a cinema on a streaming platform. And Breathe Into the Shadows gave me just that. It allowed me to develop a character and etch it out and really sink my teeth into it over 12 episodes, as opposed to just getting 2 hours to be able to justify all your characteristics. So now, if I have 12 episodes, you're talking about, it's like 3 to 4 mini films. So I have that much time to actually establish my role, my character, get into the subtext of it. So I demanded that in the writing. So I said, okay, the writing has to reflect this. And when I met these two, and then I met the writers, and I saw that they delved into this with such detail, I just knew that this is something that can only be done on a streaming platform over a series. So everything about the writing just grabbed me, and just said, this is something you have to be a part of. And if you're going to do something that has depth in it, do something that has complexity in it, because this medium lends itself to all of those attributes.
So I saw Abhishek the first two episodes, and they're very intriguing. And uh, you know, I was wondering for you as an actor, how hard was it to play this guy? I mean, Dr. Avinash, he's a psychiatrist, a regular, affable, nice man, a good husband, good father, who then ends up in very dark places. Um,
Yes.
how hard was it to make that convincing that a guy who seems so normal is capable of this?
I think a lot of the time actors are given a lot of credit which is not due to them. Like I told you, we're like slip fielders. You're lucky when that ball comes shooting to you. The only thing you got to do is be at the right place at the right time and just catch it and hold on to it. The credit of this has to go entirely to the writers and the director. They are able to write in these things. And because this medium demands such detailing in writing, it's all there on paper. There's very little that I can do because it's already there for me to do. And it was just written beautifully. And be it Bhavani or Vikram Tuli or Arshad who wrote the dialogues, they had just done such a fantastically detailed job that it made my work very easy. Mayank, who's our director, is a stickler for detail. And I've probably not worked with a director who's so aware of the entire spectrum of emotions that you're going to go throughout the series. He's on the ball. I tried to test him a few times, and he's so aware. He's very alive in that sense. And this is the world he's helped create. When they made Breathe season 1, and now when they moved into the world of Breathe, is something he inhabits, and he was so in control of it. It was just wonderful to be a part of that. Coming to what I said, originally, Anu, is that you look for work that's going to throw up those complexities to you, which at first glance, when you meet Avinash Sabharwal, he comes across as a normal middle class Delhiite. He's a professional. He's a psychiatrist. He's doing his job. He has a family life. He has a beautiful wife. He has a beautiful daughter. It's all hunky dory. His profession is thriving, and then for him to be taken into and put into situations which are very uncomfortable for him, there's the complexity. How does somebody who has such an almost ideal life deal with something like this and grapple with a situation like this? That's where the writing comes in, and that's why I gravitated towards this material, because it had all these complexities. It is a challenge, like you said. How did you do it? Well, it was a huge challenge. Thankfully, the writing really supported me, but it's a challenge. And at the end of the day, after 20 years, if you can't handle these kind of challenges, then you really don't deserve to be here.
Abhishek, you just talked about how on a streaming service, they don't care that you're a big star. They don't care what the 20 years are.
Well, this is my sense. This is my sense of it. Yeah, it's
Sure.
my opinion. Yeah.
Sure. But do you think, Abhishek, given that so much, there is so much exciting original content on streaming services, now you're having films premiere straight on streaming services, do you think our traditional ideas of stardom will change?
No.
It's still going to be.
You tell me, Anu, as per you, and you're straddling both the worlds. You're part of the film industry on your own merit, also because of Vidu. You also are on the media side of it, that you get to be a part of it and still view it. And then you have the third view, which is you can work as an outsider and view the workings of the film industry from outside. So my thing is, according to you, what's a star?
Well, the traditional notion was bums on seats, right? It was the guy who opens or the girl who opens that first
End
day.
of conversation. End of conversation. A star is not somebody whose reputation is that they are able to convey the material that they need to convey as successfully as possible. And how do you gauge that success? Is during cinema, it was what are the collections of your film? What is the collection
Right.
amount of tickets you can sell? So like you said, bums on seats. In the streaming service, it's no different. It's how many people are going to watch your show. What kind of word of mouth can you generate? Okay, we don't have currently the traditional tracking that we have now eventually in cinema. But you remember very well. I remember the year I debuted in the year 2000. Vidu's film came out, Mission Kashmir, that year. Those years, we didn't have people who were reporting collections immediately, and there was no verdict passed. We had the trade papers, which would give you limited amount of collections of centers that they had managed to contact. So now it's in cinema, now there's a ready reckoning. There are professional companies like Rentrack that track all of this. Currently in the streaming world, there aren't, but you can judge the success of a show by the amount of people that are watching it. You can judge the success of the show if the streaming service is going to come back to you and say, okay, we're doing well. So at the end of the day, the definition of stardom never changes. It's, can you get people to watch your product because they like the work you do?
Right. That stays the same.
Absolutely.
So, I remember seeing a lot of interviews, Abhishek, where you talked about how you would put up negative reviews of yourself, highlighting the negative parts in your room, on some cupboard. And the idea was that hope through
on my
the
bathroom
year,
mirror.
On your bathroom mirror. Okay. And you would hope through the year that the highlighted parts.
There's a bit of vanity there as well. An actor's always going to be looking at themselves. So the mirror is the most prominent place to keep it at. Yeah.
So do you still do that? Is that still something that sort of drives you to do better?
Yes, absolutely.
You still do it?
Absolutely. I think, well, thankfully, they're few and far, thankfully. I think I've managed to pull my socks up a fair amount. Um, but it's very important, Anu. You shouldn't. It's important, and see, because I've never looked upon it as, oh, these are negative reviews. It's negative. Why, Anu? Because it's something we don't like reading. We don't like reading is because maybe somebody said something about you, which possibly is right, but you just don't want to confront that. So for me, whenever somebody gave me a bad review, I always looked upon it as actually it's the reverse. It's actually the right review for you, because that's what you need to do to correct yourself and improve yourself so that that person who has not liked your product can like your product. So it's like a market survey. So for example, if Anu, you see Breathe and you don't like it and you write a review which is not flattering to me, I'm going to read that a lot more because now I know, okay, this is what Anu needs me to do in order to entertain her better. So I look upon it like that. It's actually a roadmap to improvement.
But you've always been this sorted about negative reviews?
Sorted, yes. Did they hurt? Of course. Come on, you're a human being. Do they still hurt? Of course they do, because we work really hard. Regardless of, we end up seeing it, and you know this from close quarters, Anu. People see the glamorous life of an actor. They see the red carpets and the Instagram posts, and all of that's very nice. Very seldom do you get to see the hard work that people in films put in all round,
Yeah.
and not just the actors. It's a very difficult job. It's a very competitive job. It's a job where you need to be switched on 24/7. It's very demanding, and this industry demands everything from you. And if you're not willing to sacrifice a lot, you're not going to get much. And anybody who's been part of a film set in whatever capacity is going to tell you that. So it's not easy. And but that's the way it is. And nobody, when you were born, nobody told you life was going to be easy. Life is not meant to be, you know, uh, full of daisies and that's it. We're just coasting through it. Life is tough. Life is tough. You got to get up every morning and fight for what you think is yours. And that's just the way it is. You can't make too big a deal about it. That's the way it is. It's a constant. So am I sorted about it? Ideally, in an ideal world, you'd want everybody to love you. That's not going to happen. So once you accept that, you get on with it. So I look upon it as, here's a roadmap for me to improve. But if somebody's going to say something which is not flattering, yes, it's going to hurt. I'm not going to take it that personally that is going to stop me from doing what I'm doing. It's going to egg me on to improve myself. And that I've always been.
Abhishek, in the last 2 weeks, this toughness of the film industry that you mentioned has really sort of come to the fore with Sushant's tragedy.
Yes.
Tell me, this is something I've been thinking about a lot, that how do we make the film industry a more equitable place? How do we level the playing ground?
I think you're asking the wrong person this question.
Why?
Because I'm born of this film industry, okay?
Of course.
I've been here for 44 years. It's my family business. Whatever my family is today is because of the graces of the audience. And in that sense, we're all public servants. We work for our audience because they're the ones who spend their hard-earned money to watch our films. So they decide, Anu, who gets to work and who doesn't. And they're the only people that matter because they decide when they go and buy a ticket. And if they don't buy your ticket, you don't get your next job. If they buy your ticket, depends how many they buy, then it depends on what kind of a film you're going to get next. And that's one truth which I think everybody has to understand. We are made because of our audiences, nobody else. And that's the truth. And they're the people who decide, and they're the people you have to work for, and those are the people you have to impress, and those are the people you have to entertain. So I think this question has to be asked to the audience. Audience, who do you like to see, and why do you like to see them? We'd like to understand that. Maybe then we can work towards achieving what they like. So I'm not so sure if I'm the right person or the qualified person to answer this question, because I genuinely believe that this is a question that needs to be asked to the audience, because they dictate the market forces. Nobody else does. And anybody who thinks otherwise is being naive. At the end of the day, the audience decides whether we get to get another job or not.
Yeah, that's true. The last mile is the audience, and they sort of shift what happens within the business. Abhishek, is there anything you've learned from the very active part you play in the sports world that you can bring to the film world?
Never give up.
Hmm.
I own a football team, Chennai FC. In season 2 of the ISL, in the finals, we were playing a great Goa team in Goa, in their home ground. It was the finals. In the 83rd minute, we went down 2-1. And I was like, okay, you can't come back from that. In football, if the opposing team scores a goal and they're leading 2-1 and there's only 6 minutes left, it's pretty much game over. That match ended in the 93rd minute, 3-2 in favor of Chennai. My team
Wow.
managed to score 2 goals because they never gave up. And that was one of the greatest life lessons I ever learned, is never give up. You just keep going. And you have to keep wanting to improve. I'm by nature, Anu, a very positive person. And I think I'm optimistic because I've always considered what is the worst that can happen. And once you come to terms with what is the worst that can happen and you learn how to deal with that, then you just move on with positivity. I've said this in interviews for many years, don't cry that it's over, smile that it happened. And you have to just build from that. You have to have faith in yourself, and you have to just go out there and keep trying. Get knocked down 6 times, get up 7.
Yes, and
That's how winning is
that's
done.
something.
It's like Rocky says, Sylvester Stallone's greatest dialogue. It's not how hard you can hit, it's how hard you can get hit and still keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's the truth of life.
Yeah, and you've seen that truth of life sort of also in your father's career. I mean, if there's somebody who exemplifies never give up, it's literally him. Uh,
Absolutely.
I've always told him I want to grow up and be you. So I have to end by asking you about him. Of course, he refuses to give interviews anymore, and he says, "Ab mujhe kuch aur nahi bolna, bahut bol diya maine." Um, but I have to ask you, how is he doing? I was just thinking, here's a man who's worked relentlessly for decades. How has he done through this lockdown? How is he handling not going up and sort of doing something new every day?
If I tell you the domestic secrets, Anu, I fear whether I'll be led back into my house. But I think the greatest joy for both my parents, till the lockdown was not relaxed a bit. My mother actually was in Delhi all by herself, all alone, because she was attending Parliament, and then she got stuck there due to the lockdown. And the minute they opened up the first phase and people allowed, we brought her down because she's 72 years old, and we weren't comfortable that she was there all alone. Thankfully, both my parents are back home now, and I think their greatest joy is that all their grandchildren are together with them. My sister's 2 children, Navya and Agastya, who are studying in New York, also during the lockdown, came down and are in Mumbai with us. And so to have their 3 grandchildren around and their family around, I don't remember ever all of us being together under the same roof for such a long period of time. Because inevitably, first it was dad, then in between when mom started working and now she's in Parliament, so whether we have both our parents together, then I became an actor, then I was traveling, and then when I got married to Aishwarya, then Aishwarya was also working. So to have all of us under the same roof is very, very rare. And now to have us all with my sister as well and my nephew and niece, I think they're enjoying that immensely.
Good.
I think
That's wonderful.
he's also understanding how the groceries are bought, which is a situation I don't think my mom is too happy about.
I somehow cannot visualize Mr. B figuring out groceries.
Can you imagine? One day he goes to the market. Acha, ye kitne mein diya? The person would faint. But he's been very good. He's an immensely disciplined man. So he's been doing a lot of reading. He's catching up on a lot of shows. He's very excited for Breathe. He's got time to binge watch shows. We kind of make fun of him. He finishes seasons in an entire night now. So yeah, I mean, he released a film of his in the lockdown, which was Gulabo Sitabo on Amazon Prime Video. So yeah, I think he's happy. But knowing him, he must be getting a bit antsy to get back to work.
Yeah, I can imagine. And he was so good in Gulabo Sitabo. Abhishek, thank you. And
Thank
all
you,
the best
Anu.
for Breathe. Can't wait to
Thank
see
you.
all
I
of it.
really hope you like it. I really do hope you like it. We worked very hard.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Take care. Good luck. All the best.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.